Hello and welcome back. It's Wendy here, and isn't this just the most wonderful, peaceful place? I would like to offer you a couple of things. Oh, you can't script that. Cockatoos in the Australian bush. So getting back to what I was saying, if they let me. There's a couple of things that I do every day, and there's a few things, like when I work with ladies in a place that I call the Grounded Women's Circle, there's a few things that I do myself and that I get the ladies to do as well, that just helps them every day with feeling on top of things and grounded and just in their own bodies, and something that's safe and familiar and something that you will do every day that just doesn't feel like a job. And you've probably heard it before, but it's just a few little anchors in the morning. And what they do is, I know often we've heard of them, but maybe we don't really know why we do them. And you may already be doing them. And these are certainly things that over the last 3 or 4 years since I've left my career and I needed to find some stability and something that helped me to feel safe and familiar every day, because without that I was getting a bit lost, and even to the point where I didn't want to leave the house and didn't want to be around people. You know, there's that time you come, often for women it is in the postmenopause or the perimenopause years, where you start sort of wondering is this all there is to life, or you feel a bit invisible, or you've lost confidence in yourself, possibly put on weight, and just don't know where you fit into your family or your friendship groups anymore, because people change differently at different rates. So what I encourage the women to do, and this is certainly after much testing myself, not testing, but developing things for myself and learning by just putting things in place to see, like, oh God, throw everything up in the air and just see what works for me. Because there comes a time where you're just not so sure about yourself. So what I've experienced and what I know 100% works is you need something to make you feel like you're sturdy and you got your feet planted on the ground, and that's what we call anchors. And if you think of an anchor as something that, a ship in a bay needs an anchor if there's a storm coming, because the bigger the anchor and the heavier it is, the less likely the ship is going to be, pushed into shore or swayed or damaged. And that's the way I explain it to women, and that's exactly what I felt like I had to do myself, because I was being hit by huge storms in my life. And not that I don't need to go into those, because we don't need to always go back over the traumas that we've been through, because I firmly believe in vicarious trauma. And if you're not sure what that is, it's a secondary trauma, something that I've experienced that you will experience too if you hear about it. And so I don't feel like I need to revisit those things all the time. But for you to be able to embrace the learnings that I've had from that will be very, very important. So an anchor is something that you can do. I find in the mornings is the best time. Sometimes you might need to do one at lunchtime to check in with yourself, or midweek even, because if you start going off track in midweek, then a midweek one brings you back in. It redirects you, and it's wonderful. So an anchor is something that you will do regularly, and it won't feel like another job. And it's something that it feels good to do, that you'll remember, and you will do it. Not should do it, but you will do it. And that's really important. This is an anchor for me. So every day I put my runners on and I take my dogs for a walk. So this is not one of those walks. I normally do it early in the morning. This is kind of later afternoon. I'm going to show you. It's just gorgeous. And I take the dogs for a walk, unless it's like, hail. And I go and have a coffee in a cafe or a coffee shop with the dogs, and I give them some snacks, and I just have some time out early in the morning. And I find this very grounding, and it's become something that's given me a sense of safety over the last 3 years or so, because I do it often, and it checks a lot of boxes, and it helps me to move my body. I get up, I don't have to think about what I'm going to do. I just get up and do it. I might have a cup of tea first, because I do like a cup of tea, particularly in these frosty mornings that we're having. But an anchor is something like that for you. You might want to get up and just have a cup of tea and sit in the window in the sun, or journal. Not a job. I don't want you to do a job. I just want you to do something that you'll repeat every day. It's consistency that counts. And over many years it becomes comforting, and it feels like home. And that's what I try and instill in my ladies that I work with. We want that feeling, because even if you're alone or you've been through some hard times, these things are predictable, and predictability and consistency brings a feeling of safety. So that's all I wanted to talk to you about today, is how can you create a feeling of safety and predictability in your life? Would it be a morning anchor, or would it be a lunchtime anchor to check in with yourself? How am I going today? It doesn't have to be anything fancy. What about a midweek one on a Wednesday or a Thursday night? Just to check in with yourself, to redirect. Perhaps if you're trying to change something in your life, and Monday and Tuesday you go really well, and by Wednesday morning you're sort of starting to fade a bit, and by Wednesday night you think, oh, blow, I'll just leave it till next Monday now. So that's where a midweek anchor, it really works. It makes you check in. I really like that idea. If you've got any anchors, or perhaps you are doing things and you didn't realize that that's what they actually were, you haven't named them, well, maybe pop one down in the comments, because I'd love to hear from you. There's so many beautiful things that we can do, just make us feel whole again. So hopefully you can feel like that too. Anyway, until next time, I'm Wendy. Welcome. We're building a beautiful community, and I'd really love you to subscribe. It's free, because I'd like to get this out to as many people, because building the joy and sharing the love and having kindness and generosity of heart is so very important to me. I want to focus on the good things, the things that make us feel good, and the peace, and not so much on the stuff that perhaps got us to our late 50s that may not always be looked at in the kindest of lights. So if that's you, I look forward to maybe chatting with you inside of the community. I hope to see you next time. Bye for now.